do it. Hello, and welcome back to And Away We Go F1 podcast, a Formula One podcast that goes beyond the track limit to talk about travel, food, and lifestyle surrounding the sport. I'm Dianne Bortoletto, your pre-Drive to Survive Formula One fan, and today I'm in Nambucca Heads, which is on the coast near Coffs Harbour in New South Wales. I'm joined again by the lovely Ciara Gillan. Hi, Ciara.
Hi, how are you? Good to be back.
Yes, great to have you here. Now, Ciara, tell us where you are and how your weekend's been.
My weekend's been good. Lots of Formula One watching. And I am in Berlin. So I'm Irish, but I live in Berlin in Germany. So.
Awesome. Well, welcome back to the podcast. Great to have you in the co-host seat again this week. And what a week when it comes to Formula One, right? Wowzers.
Yeah. Where do we start?
I think we just have to start again with McLaren. I feel like all season we've been talking about McLaren. If it hasn't been the papaya rules, it's their strategy. And oh my God, how could they have not pitted under a safety car? Like, how could they have got that so wrong? So we're talking, of course, about the Qatar Grand Prix, which was a sprint weekend, second last race of the season. Oh, I just had to get that off my chest.
Oh, girl, I've been thinking it since, like, I would never consider myself anybody who'd have strategy brain, but I was like, how would you not pit? How would you not pit? It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense, right? I think they thought, maybe they thought that there would be another safety car during the race, but honestly, at races like this, where it's known to be really hard, difficult to overtake, there usually aren't that many safety cars in those races, right? Because it's hard to overtake. It just seemed like a crazy strategy.
I get that safety cars are part of the whole, strategy element of Formula One. And I get that they do their maths and their calculations and they, anticipate that there could be them. But when you have a mandatory 2 pit stop race and you are in the lead and it's hard to overtake and you're gifted a safety car on lap 7 and you 57 laps and you've got 25 and 25, why don't you stop? It just made zero sense. I was thinking about it a lot afterwards and I was trying to make it make sense. And it just doesn't, if they had 1 pit stop, then I could understand. I could be like, okay, it was a bit early, lap 7, fine. But 2, no, they really messed up. And lots to talk about.
Yeah, they did. And should explain that this race at Qatar, it was mandated that the tyres could do a maximum of 25 laps. And that was a mandate that was done in consultation with Pirelli to do with the heat and the track conditions and the tyre degradation and risks associated with that. So they put that 25 lap limit on. Now, being a 57 lap race, exactly like you said, Nico Hülkenberg spun off and hit a trackside sign.
Yeah, he collided with Gasly,
which caused debris on the track. So the safety car came out and that was in lap 7. So that was, like you said, the perfect time for a pit stop, because then that gave them 2 lots of 25 laps, which were the maximum tyre lengths that they could go to for the race. Every single other driver pitted. Every single other team, every single other driver pitted except the 2 McLarens.
Ocon. Initially.
I think McLaren thought that it would give them more flexibility of when they could pit, maybe another, wishing for another safety car. But in effect, Oscar Piastri had a flawless weekend. He just drove without error, without mistake. The boy's back. He's on form. And that was so good to see. It's so good to see him happy. So good to see his confidence boosted. And I bet you were happy watching him, for the sprint and quali, where he just was pole, win, pole, and then second in the race result. Oh my God.
Oh my God. And even getting that second place was down to how well he raced, because they had messed it up so badly that only for the fact that he drove his socks off was he going to get into that second place. Obviously, look what happened to Lando. Okay, Lando finished 4th.
Only just.
Only just, exactly. Only just, right? Actually, in fairness, yeah. So, like they could have been a lot worse. At one point, they said that if he pitted, he would be down behind Stroll, which was like 16th or something. I swear to God, I was nearly having a heart attack. I was like, how have they messed it up? How have they done this? But in fairness to Oscar, he was on fire the whole weekend and he was driving so well. He like, so he was the one who got himself that second place. I mean, obviously, but McLaren, the amateurness. And the thing also to say is, which we kind of haven't touched on yet, is the reason why they then did both of them and they didn't pit both of them was because of this, well, what everybody's saying is this fairness strategy that they've going on. But to be honest, if they had pitted, they screwed up on Oscar, and then if they had pitted Norris, realising their mistake, I would have been really annoyed. And not that I want Lando's race to be ruined because of Oscars, but because of the whole attitude of how they deal with papaya rules and the fairness, et cetera, they kind of had to do what they did in the end. You know what I mean? They should have just pitted both of them. But this same strategy attitude that they've had with both drivers the whole of the season predominantly is just costing them,
Yeah.
I mean,
I know. It's crazy.
Did you hear that Andrea Sella was talking post-race and basically saying that the reason why they didn't do the pit stop is because they didn't want a double stack? When you think about it, it feels like it was, again, favouring Lando because, obviously Piastri was leading the race. You would think that Piastri would have gotten out and gotten into first place again. Nobody else seemed to kind of lose positions, but because Lando was so close behind him, I'm assuming they were concerned that Lando would have come out in traffic and lost his position. But again, it just feels like McLaren are favouring Lando. When Lando was leading, I don't remember the exact race, but when Lando was leading the race and he lost with a 5-second pit stop, they said, Piastri, you got to swap back. And that's their
Monza.
Yeah, Monza, right? That's their fairness game, whatever, But in this, they just seemed like they didn't give a crap that Piastri was leading the race, that he'd been doing fantastically all weekend. And they were like, oh, no, we care more about Lando. And I know people will be like, well, Lando is leading the championship. But I'm sorry, Piastri was leading the championship for how many races? And they never favoured him.
I know.
It's just things like this that just get me so angry and so frustrated with McLaren,
You're not the only one that's angry and frustrated with McLaren. I think there's a whole legion of fans out there that are angry and frustrated with McLaren and pretty much all of Australia. Like, it's just inconceivable how McLaren, because Lando would have lost too much time. Lando might have got released in traffic. I mean, Oscar is the number one driver. I mean, didn't Lando even say something in his post-race interview?
Yeah. And he corrected himself because he knew he was wrong. So he said something like, oh, that's just the kind of unfortunate thing of being the second, not the second driver, but he was being second in the race, to Oscar. And then he getting the second strategy or something like that. And then he corrected himself because he knew he didn't get the second strategy because they played fair. And they ultimately screwed both of them. But yeah. So even his mentality, he knew that that's what they should have done, but they didn't in the end,
And
they drive me bonkers.
Oh, they drive everybody bonkers. And Zach's words are going to come back and haunt him for the rest of his days because he said, I would rather Max Verstappen win the championship than to play favourites between Oscar and Lando. Now, look what's happened. Max, who was down, but now he's in second place in the championship.
And he was 104 points behind.
Exactly. And now he's only 12 points behind Lando.
And he skipped Piastri. So Piastri is really, out of all of this, the worst has happened to him. And he's having a great performance in a couple of races, but still to have gone from first to third and Max jumping him. I mean, God, obviously speaks to Max's star performances as well, but no, McLaren really have a lot to answer for, 100%.
Do you know, if Oscar can't win the championship, I hope Max takes it just to teach McLaren a lesson. I nearly said a naughty word then, but just to teach McLaren. And they're not the only ones favouring Lando Norris. The Formula One app is also put Norris down as having a world championship already when he hasn't even, the season's not even over. How can you put a 1 next to that? They've changed it. They've changed it. That I've got a screenshot of that. That said 1. That you sent it to me originally.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. Okay. So listeners, just in case you missed this. So I was scrolling through the Formula One app and we saw on Lando's page that he'd written that it was beside championships, it said 1. So they'd already done deal for them. They had already given him the championship. That is disgraceful.
That is disgraceful.
That is disgraceful. So they changed it back.
That's like saying in a World Cup football match, the final at halftime, calling the winner. That's what this is the equivalent to.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Outrageous.
The Lando bias is unreal. Yeah,
It is unreal. All right, look, I've got the screenshot of it. I've got the screen. I'm going to post it on social media. I don't know if you can see.
Yes.
It says there, World Championship 1.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They're so cheeky. That's
the official Formula One app. I mean, is the Formula One app, is Formula One owned by McLaren? Zach Brown? Maybe. Far out. That's outrageous.
Yeah.
That's made me angrier. I mean, they've corrected it now, but that's made me angrier than the double stacking. Oh, wow.
But they've corrected it now, but because they've been caught out, because people have been posting about it. Look, I mean, I'm Irish, so we have a very complicated relationship with the Brits, but there is a lot of bias that happens with in British media, and I'm really sad to see it. I see it a lot on the TV. We talked about it earlier about how the camera pans to Lando all the time when it's Oscar's day, Oscar's moment, but to have the app actually give him the championship before he's won it, I mean, come on.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
I mean, when it's mathematically possible and actually plausible that somebody else will win the championship. Oh my God. Oh.
I know, right? I know. So Lando has to finish third. To make sure that he beats Max if Max wins the race, because it's 25, 18, 15.
So he needs 13 points to win. Anyway.
Yeah, I can feel my blood pressure rising.
It's outrageous. McLaren, go sit in the corner and have a good hard think about what you've done, and then come back when you've got a sensible solution for the future, because this is not on.
I know. One thing I'd say, if Lando wins, what does 2026, assuming McLaren do have a competitive car, what does 2026 look like for Oscar? Does Oscar push back and say, no, I'm not doing the fair papaya rules, fair inverted commas, or does he continue playing the team game? Because didn't Lewis Hamilton say to him at one point, you should not have swapped, and going forward, you should not swap. Like, if he wants to be a ruthless winner, he's got to be tough, right? So, yeah, I'm curious to see what 2026 will bring if Lando wins.
And even Max Verstappen has said the same thing. Like, if they'd asked me to do it, I would have said no. 2026, I think Mark Webber will be in there negotiating some team guidelines moving forward. This whole papaya rules and McLaren's strategy has killed Oscar's chance at the championship. If they hadn't have made them swap because of that slow pit stop in Monza, which was the thing that set all this off, right? Yes, there was always Lando favoritism, but that really kicked things off. Oscar's even admitted that messed with his head a bit, like that changed his attitude and affected his next race. I think that was Azerbaijan, right? Where he crashed and DNF'd. Had Monza not happened, then it would have been a whole different trajectory, a whole different playing field for Oscar. So the team has a lot to answer for. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I'm sure that whatever happens in 2026, Oscar is going to take no prisoners, and he's not a fool. Mark Webber is no fool either, and they won't be taking any of this lying down. So I'm sure they'll come out with guns blazing in their demands as far as setting up a situation where Oscar is treated fairly within the team. Maybe introducing repercussions. God, I hope I never hear that word again.
I 100% agree. And I think we will see a new hopefully more ruthless, determined Oscar.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not done. It's not done until the last lap of Abu Dhabi.
I'm hoping that the karma gods, that karma out there will play a part in this last race and something will happen that will bring justice to this season. Let's hope.
Yeah, Formula One throws all these curveballs, so you never know, right? Like, who expected a double DNF in Las Vegas? Who expected, not pitting on a safety car in Qatar? Like, you just never know. Maybe Antonelli will do us a favour and knock someone else out again.
Oh, as I say, anything can happen in motorsport, and it usually does.
Yeah.
Oscar qualified on pole position for the main race, also for the sprint race, and he won the sprint race. Lando qualified in second place for the main race, and Max Verstappen was in third for the main race. The results was Max Verstappen, Red Bull capitalised on McLaren's stuff up there with the strategy. Max won the race, and he drove brilliantly. You can't fault him. He had a great race. He got a great result. He capitalised on McLaren's mistake. Oscar finished second, like we've said. Carlos Sainz finished third, so that was great to see. And Carlos qualified, I think he qualified in seventh. So Carlos Sainz, again, was one of the ones that pitted on lap 7 when the safety car came out and managed to finish in third, his second podium of the season, which was fabulous to see for Williams. Lando Norris finished in fourth, and he only finished in fourth ahead of Kimi Antonelli in fifth because with I think 2 laps to go, Kimi Antonelli made a very small mistake because his tyres were at the end of their life, and Lando capitalised on that and overtook him. To be fair, Lando was close to Kimi for the last few laps, but just didn't have the pace, even with DRS, to overtake Kimi. And then it wasn't until Kimi made an error that Lando was able to overtake him and finish in fourth. George Russell finished behind Kimi Antonelli in sixth place, Fernando Alonso in seventh, Charles Leclerc in eighth for Ferrari. Oh, we'll have to talk about Ferrari. Oh, my God. Do we have to? Liam Lawson finished in ninth, so in the points for Racing Bulls, and Yuki Tsunoda also in the points, finishing 10th. And then it was Alex Albon, Lewis Hamilton in 12th, which is a pretty good result considering where he started, which was 18th. Crazy.
Yeah, 18th. Yeah. He started 18th.
Yeah, Gabriel Bortoletto, 13th, Franco Colapinto, 14th, Esteban Ocon, 15th for Haas, Pierre Gasly, 16th for Alpine, Lance Stroll, 17th for Aston Martin, and Isaac Hadjar was last in... No, I'm sorry. Am I looking at the right thing?
You're right. He was 18th, Behrman was 19th, and Nico Hulkenberg was 20th. Yeah, so the last 4 cars all DNF'd.
That's right. So, oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So Ferrari just had an awful weekend. Lewis Hamilton was so dejected he could hardly speak.
Yeah.
Yep, he was out of Q1, couldn't find the balance of the car, couldn't find pace in the car, and Charles Leclerc was saying the same thing. Both Ferrari drivers just very unhappy with the state of play at the moment. Oh, I did hear a rumour. Oh, yeah.
Oh, tell me.
That Charles Leclerc has signed a agreement with Aston Martin for 2027 based on the results of Ferrari in 2026. And he has to tell Aston Martin between May and June whether or not he's going to take up an offer to drive for Aston Martin in 2027. And he's got some clause in his contract that if the Ferrari is not performing in the first few races of 2026, he's going to opt out for 2027. Have you heard that rumour?
I have heard that. I mean, I didn't hear all that detail. That's amazing. I have to say, here, I would be like, Shaw, go for it. Because, Ferrari clearly are not listening to their drivers. They seem to be very much stuck in their ways. They're trying to, hold on to glory that was 20 years ago. And it's not good enough anymore. Like, you can excuse a bad year every now and again, but like the reality is that they've got a 7-time world champion there and he's practically crying when he leaves the races. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. And I get it. It's the first year, but like, look at the difference of Sainz, who's gone into a team that he didn't know, and how open they have been to his changes and his input and what he has to say, whereas it just seems to be closed doors for Lewis. And I think Charles has done his time. He's given them the best parts of his career, you know? So yeah, with Adrian Newey now at the helm.
Well, yes. So that just got announced, right? That Adrian Newey is taking over as team principal for Aston Martin. Working to each other's strengths, apparently, was the line that was sent out. And I need to say that the High Performance podcast, whoever's doing their social medias is doing a great job. They pulled out a clip from an old interview that they did with Christian Horner when Adrian Newey was with Red Bull. And Christian Horner said, no, Adrian is a creative. Like, giving him a management role, like managing people, would just be a disaster. It's not the way his brain is wired. He's a creative. I give him the space to create, and this is what he does best. And now Aston Martin's putting Adrian in as team principal. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I've lots of thoughts on this. I don't know. I mean, Christian Horner, can we take everything he says as, you know, as gold? I mean, you know, I don't know. I think Adrian...
the podcast was a few years old. So it was when Christian Horner was still...
at the height.
Yeah, still liked, quite respected because Red Bull were winning everything. It just makes me wonder. It's interesting.
This is what they're saying, like it's a completely different role to what he's used to. And, you know, he's still focusing on the building of the car. And, you know, they were talking about like, well, what happens if there's issues with the car? Is he going to still be focused on that while trying to lead the team? How does that work out? I'm assuming Aston Martin have thought about all these things and figured it out, have a plan. But I do wonder if Adrian Newey is in the twilights of his career and like, I'm just going to do everything. But he's got a stake in Aston Martin, doesn't he? Like he's not just,
well,
you know,
I don't know
just have a job.
Christian Horner and Adrian Newey have been seen together apparently in the last week or so. I think they were seen in a cafe or catching up somewhere. So maybe Christian Horner's comeback is tied to Aston Martin somehow.
I don't have the words for that.
Anyway, that's enough about Christian Horner.
But Adrian Newey is a shareholder.
Oh, he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good fact checking. Well done.
I think Aston Martin really are the team to watch. Everyone's going on about Mercedes and, you know, they'll be the strong team. But I think Aston Martin really are going to be very interesting. And I think if Charles makes the move there, wait, so does that mean who would be out? Would it be Alonso
Fernando.
or...
Yeah, Fernando.
Okay.
I think Fernando will drive next year because Adrian Newey wanted to work with Fernando. Fernando wants to work with Adrian Newey. I think Fernando's got another year on his contract, you know, and if he did really want to opt out, I think he would. But yes, I think Fernando will drive next year and then 2027 he'll probably hang up his boots. And he's about to become a dad. His partner is pregnant. So that's been announced or confirmed by Italian media.
It's exciting. Congratulations,
Yes.
Alonso and your partner.
Congratulations, Fernando. Yes. So that's exciting news. He is 44 at the moment. So I'm not exactly sure when the baby is due, but exciting news nonetheless.
Yeah. Very exciting. Yeah. I mean, I always wondered if he would ever settle down.
Yes.
But also, speaking of congratulations, you were telling me that it is the birthday, the 1-year birthday of the podcast.
Happy birthday to And Away We Go F1 podcast. Yes, the first week of December is officially 1 year since we hit record on the first episode with my original co-host, Monique Ciccardo, who herself is pregnant and about to have a baby. So she stepped away. And the podcast lives on and just clicked over our first birthday. So that's very exciting news. This will be episode, 55. So we've done a bit more than one episode a week. We recorded a special episode, I think, when Christian Horner, that all happened. And we started off with 2 episodes.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
1-year-old.
1-year-old. I feel pretty proud of that effort because it does take a lot of work to put together a weekly show, and to be able to do it consistently every week has been, like a lot of work and commitment, but one that I really enjoy and love doing. So yes, very happy, very happy.
And you should be. Congratulations.
Thank you. And speaking of that, which is why we keep which is why every podcaster really in the world says, if you like what you hear, please like, please subscribe, please interact with us, please comment, on whether it's YouTube or Instagram or on your podcast listening apps, because all those little interactions make the podcast rank higher with the podcasting platforms, which means more listeners, which means hopefully one day we can get some sponsorship and some partnerships with the podcast, which all goes to help to contribute to costs for software. Like, software is a significant cost. So yeah, that's why we ask you to do that. Wish the podcast a happy birthday by liking, subscribing, or commenting.
It is very important. It is. It really is. It's great. And it's also great to know that people are listening and to be able to connect with you and everything. So yeah, please do like and subscribe. Definitely.
It was a sprint weekend. One of the commentary team on Sky Sports said, this is vintage Piastri. Like, we haven't seen this style of driving from Piastri since Zandvoort earlier in the season. It was really, really great to see. So Oscar finished first in the sprint. George Russell finished second. So that was a brilliant drive by George Russell. Lando Norris finished third. So Oscar only really scored 2 points more than Lando in the sprint. But, every point counts. Max Verstappen finished fourth. Yuki Tsunoda did brilliantly and finished fifth. Kimi Antonelli in sixth. Fernando Alonso in seventh. Carlos Sainz in eighth. Isaac Hadjar in Racing Bulls in ninth, and Alex Albon in the other Williams in 10th. So that's the top 10 for the sprint. What did you think of the sprint?
I mean, like you said, I thought the return to form of Piastri was great. It was just heartwarming. Obviously, I would love to have seen a bit more of a points difference between Oscar and Lando, but yeah, it was fine.
I agree. I mean, I was like, he's beat Lando, yes, but it's only 2 points. I guess the notable thing for the sprint was that Max Verstappen qualified in 6th place for the sprint. He was really unhappy with the Red Bull for the first few sessions in Qatar. And Yuki Tsunoda out-qualified him in the sprint and qualified in 5th place for the sprint race. I don't think Max has been, what did they say? He hasn't been out-qualified by a teammate for about 2.5 years or something. So it was quite, a long time anyway.
Yeah,
so,
it was impressive by Yuki.
I know, but this one little moment of impressiveness, I don't think he's going to keep his seat.
No.
Next year.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, geez, we could have a whole podcast on that second seat,
Definitely.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm excited for Hadjar because I think Hadjar is a really interesting talent, and I think he's got so much potential, and he's really shown, like, he's been very consistent throughout the year, whereas like Antonelli's been up and down, and then like even Berman's been up and down, lost and whatever. But I think Hadjar is very consistent. I worry about him going into that second seat. In a way, I feel like Yuki, I think one of the commentators on F1 was saying, he actually hasn't done that badly in comparison to what's been expected of that seat. In fairness to Perez was doing very well in that second seat, bar his last year when he imploded. He was winning races and he was doing really well, whereas like Yuki is not even getting out of the Q1. Like, he's really struggled.
With hindsight, I think everybody's eating their words as far as Sergio Perez goes with his time at Red Bull, because he really did perform better than anyone else has in that seat. I think I said it last week that Sergio Perez is just the epitome of being the perfect team player. Like, he really supported Max, helped Max, held up the pack when he needed to, protected Max's wins when it counted, and no one's been able to get close to the results that Sergio Perez got when he was at Red Bull. But he'll be back on the grid next year with Cadillac, so we'll get to see the Mexican. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Cadillac goes. Yeah, I'm looking forward. It's going to be good to have a new team and new blood on the grid next year. But we've still got a race to go before that happens for this season to be wrapped up. So after this whole weekend, the sprint race win to Oscar, and Oscar finishing ahead of Lando in both the sprint and the main race, Lando Norris still leads the driver championship on 408 points. Just 12 points behind is Max Verstappen, who has leapfrogged Oscar after winning in Qatar, and Oscar finishing second in Qatar. And Oscar is now on 392 points. Is 4 points behind Max, 16 points behind Lando. Oscar was devastated after the race, absolutely devastated. For Oscar to say on the team radio, after crossing the finishing line, I have no words. I have no words. Like, he was absolutely fuming. I have said on the podcast in the past that I think it's Oscar's year and Oscar's going to win it. And the only way he won't win it is if the team favour Lando or the team stuff up with a strategy call. And the team have stuffed up with a strategy call. And I honestly believe it's going to cost Oscar the championship.
I do agree, but I also think that unfortunately Oscar did himself no favours in what was it, 4 races? Like, I think Oscar was amazing all year. And I honestly do feel, I know without a doubt, he's going to be a champion. He's in his 3rd season of Formula One and he was fighting for the championship. So in my mind, he will be a champion and he will probably win several. But unfortunately, I do feel that it's a long season and where he needed the performances in what was like maybe a quarter of or even a fifth of the season, he didn't perform. Because if you look at Lando, like Oscar was winning all through the start of the season, but Lando was getting enough points that he was able to be there. And then when Oscar started performing badly in those 4 to 5 races, Lando was able to capitalize. I do 100% agree about the strategy for McLaren, and I agree with things like papaya rules and all those things that I hope next year Oscar will just be like, no, I am not. This is my race. I want to win.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think he didn't do himself any favors in those middle races towards the end. Not middle season, towards the end.
There's no way of saying that if McLaren had got it right at this race, that Oscar would definitely win the championship. Obviously, there's no way that I can make such a statement, but, to give Oscar a fighting chance, now he's in 3rd. Like, the team have stuffed up and Max Verstappen is in front of him in the Drivers' Championship, which is crazy. The other thing I want to say is that McLaren are so good at playing the PR game, right? So after the sprint, when Oscar had won the sprint and Lando finished the sprint what did he finish the sprint in?
Third.
In third place, the camera went to the garage, the McLaren garage, and all the mechanics in the McLaren garage were kind of shaking their head and not celebrating that one of their drivers had just won the sprint in Oscar Piastri. It looked like they were upset that Lando didn't win the sprint, or that Lando got a bad result. And maybe it was Lando's side of the garage. I don't know for sure. But either way, they're one team, right? And they weren't celebrating Oscar's win. After a few memes came out about that and there were comments made about that, then McLaren put out on social media the team celebrating when it was a 1-2 front grid lockout in qualifying, right? And then after the team stuffed up the strategy, Oscar was in the TV pen, the media pen, doing interviews, and Zach Brown dashed were the words that Kim Illman, who's a F1 photographer, posted. He dashed past him into the TV pen, pulled Oscar away from a TV interview that he was doing to give Oscar a hug and say, I'm sorry, whatever he said to Oscar. So showing the world that he cares about Oscar. When all season we know who he's been caring about and it's not been Oscar. Like, it's just, it's such a PR game. Zach could have done that straight after when they got out of the cars. He could have done that on the way to the media pen. He could have done that in the team garage. But no, he pulled him on a TV interview, for optics. This is my brain going into sort of PR crisis mode when I'm just can see through this, Zach Brown. Like, it's not, it's so annoying. It irritates me a lot, as you can tell. Yeah.
No, I mean, I 100% agree. And I heard about that he'd pulled him aside. I think it was really quite cynical. I think I also find it very frustrating that basically, we watch it on F1 TV, and basically every time when Oscar won the the sprint, the focus, as you said, was on the garage and these drivers looking, upset. I do think it was Lando's side of the garage. I'm like, why are we seeing this? When he came second in the main race, the camera went immediately to Lando. It's like, why are we seeing Lando? Why is all the focus on Lando? It drives me bonkers. It's just the British obsession. It just drives me absolutely bonkers. I will though say that they interviewed Zach after the race and he did look livid. He did look like he was going to be strangling someone in that strategy team. He, in fairness to him, it felt very genuine because there was something in his eyes. Like he just looked like he was so angry for what had happened. But I do agree. I think that was probably more of a PR thing to pull Oscar to show that we do support our boy. We do support our boy.
I mean, to run to the media pen to do that. And then Kim Millman also said that while Zach was dashing to the media pen to hug Oscar in front of the world's cameras, that Mark Webber was there and was just shooting daggers at Zach. Oh, I'd love to be in that meeting with Mark Webber and Zach Brown post-race. Oh, Webber would have lots of spicy words, I'm sure. And rightly so, yes.
Well, I hope so. I have a question for you though, okay? Would you have pitted Lando when you saw that Max had gone in? Would you have pitted Lando? If you were the strategist of
I would have pitted Oscar as soon as there was a safety car. I would have just gone, this is going to save us 16 seconds. We have to do 2 pit stops. So I would have said, bring him in. Bring him in. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
But if they'd let Oscar through and then Max had gone in, yes, I probably would have pitted Lando. I mean, the thing is that Oscar caught up to the safety car. So whatever advantage that he would have had by pitting under the safety car, I think was lost because he'd already caught up to the safety car before they went around to the pit entry again. So yeah, a tricky one. Look, these decisions happen on the fly. And the other thing about McLaren was Oscar's first pit stop was like over 3 seconds. And I was like, oh my goodness, how? And then his second pit stop was 1.8 seconds, which is the fastest pit stop, I think, in F1 history, equal fastest. At least they redeemed themselves there, and Lando got both of his pit stops were 2 point something seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if Oscar had gotten 2 slow pit stops, oh my God, I'd be barking even louder than I am now. Yeah.
I think my TV wouldn't be still standing. When they did 3 seconds, I was like, oh my God. And then they did 2.2 for Lando. I was like, here, you're killing me. You're killing me, guys. What's going on?
Exactly. One other thing I wanted to quickly talk about, I was in Melbourne and got invited to the Formula One exhibition media launch, which is on in Melbourne now. It opened to the public on Saturday. And I took my niece with me as my +1, and she was brilliant behind the camera, filming a lot of the interviews that I did. So I interviewed Nicole Piastri, who said before we hit record, she flatly refuses to speak about politics or what's going to happen in the season, which is fair enough. Like, she says she doesn't want to distract Oscar. Oscar's got a job to do. Fair enough. I totally respect that. But she was an absolute delight to meet. And I did ask her about Oscar's headspace. Like, how's he feeling? Where's he at? And she said, no, he's in a really good headspace. He's feeling really good. I also interviewed 2 of the Formula One Academy drivers who were there, and Oscar's high performance coach from last year and previous years, and also the CEO of the F1 exhibition. So I'm going to put together a special podcast episode that'll come out after the season. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And the exhibition, if you're in Melbourne, is brilliant because you've been to the F1 exhibition in Europe, right?
Yeah, I went in Vienna. We went in Vienna to it. Yeah, and it was great. Really, really great. So detailed. Oh my God, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was really amazing. Like in Australia, they've got 5 F1 cars on display. They've got, they've got Roman Grosjean's steering wheel the gloves and shoes he was wearing in that fireball crash at Bahrain 2020. There's lots of really fun interactive displays as well. So they've got like an interactive screen with a steering wheel, so you can, hit the buttons and it pops up and tells you what that button does on the steering wheel. Heaps of stuff. You can like choose which F1 driver you want to be, and then there's an interactive camera that has you in the F1 driver suit and helmet, and you can do different dance moves and stuff in front of her. It's quite fun. Yeah.
Oh, so I actually think this is different because ours didn't have all that interactive stuff. It was more just a kind of a historical thing. I mean, it had some cars. I think it was former old Red Bull cars, and then it had like lots of the suits and a big history of it, like going all the way back to the beginning of F1. But I don't think it had any, unless we missed it, any of the interactive stuff. But it sounds great. Definitely, I have to come.
And the interactive stuff was really fun. You could also design your own helmet. So on a screen, you could choose the colours and the patterns and stuff for the helmet. And they had like a podium with a photographer there taking photos, and you scan a QR code and can download the photos. So we ended up doing podium photos with a quite well-known musician who I had only just met and heard of at the time of the exhibition, Grant Perez, who is a massive Formula One fan and motorsport fan in general, actually. So him and his friend Dylan, who's also his photographer, videographer, they were heaps of fun to hang out with and go through the exhibition. Look, if you're in Melbourne, if you're a Formula One fan, go check out the exhibition. It's really great. You'll love it. And the F1 simulators are the best part about it, like just driving the Albert Park circuit in the simulator. Yeah, that was a heap of fun. Best 7 minutes you'll ever have.
I love it.
Have you got any other news or?
No, I'm just, I'm apprehensive and excited and nervous and sad that we're at the last race, and, excited to see what happens, but sad to see what's going to happen because I feel it's quite foregone conclusion, but I'm hoping some craziness, because we've had craziness in the past 2 races. So maybe McLaren will F up again and it'll favour Oscar. Let's see.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, speaking of effing up, which is what Lando said last week in Las Vegas during a live TV interview. He said he effed up, and then he actually swore and said the word. I saw somewhere he got a $55,000 fine for that. I don't know if that's true or not.
I saw that as well. Yeah.
So next week, Abu Dhabi, final race of the season, 24th race of the 24-race season. It's all to play for. There's still 3 players in it: Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, and Oscar Piastri. So stay tuned. We'll be out again next week after Abu Dhabi. And oh my God, I mean, how exciting that the season's going to be decided at the last race, which is great for Formula One as a sport, great for Formula One fans, quite stressful for Oscar Piastri, Max Verstappen fans and Lando Norris fans.
Yeah. But one thing I'll say really quickly before we go is that apparently there's a theory that whoever wins Abu Dhabi will win the next season. So obviously Lando won it last year. So in my heart, I'm like, well, look, you know what? If Piastri at least wins the race, maybe there's good fortune for him next year. Anyway, we'll talk about it all next week.
That's right. Well, thank you, Ciara, for joining me again.
My pleasure.
And thank you, everybody, for having us in your ears. You can connect with us on YouTube, if you're watching, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. You can email us at andawaywegof1podcast@gmail.com, and you can find this podcast on all the listening apps. Thank you for having us in your ears. Until next week, and until lights out.
It's lights out and away we go.
And Away We Go podcast is produced by Dianne Bortoletto.
Let's do it.